When we got the machines, there's control switches inside, 60% payout, 50%, 40%. You had to hide that. They were splitting like $60,000 a week. I never got hit by the cops because I would money launder too. Me and my boss, we started to date, and she feels comfortable enough to take me to her family functions. And a lot of these functions were at her brother-in-law's house. Now, he was 20 years older than me. They started asking me a lot of questions, like right off the bat, oh, but how was the military? What did you do? What are your future plans? And I said, hopefully FBI, this and that. And so they felt like, I felt like it was like Sonny was like interviewing me. And then he started talking about, what he does. He goes, I own a vending business. I'm thinking, okay, pool tables, jukeboxes, things like that. He goes, well, I have poker machines too. But we can talk later about that. So initially he wasn't telling me a lot about that. So this one particular night, it was probably four months after I first met him and started going to these functions. He came to check in a hotel. It was 11 o'clock. He checked in. He goes, what time do you get off, kiddo? And I said, 11 o'clock. He goes, come on up. So I go up there and he starts telling me about the business. This guy was very, very smart, but he used it for crime. He had this briefcase sitting by his bed and he knew I'd be like looking at it. And he's telling me about the business, the poker machines and this and that, and this gray area. And he says, I'll start you at $35,000 a year. I'm like, to start, $35,000. I'm like, $35,000. He goes, yeah, what do you think? I said, I don't know. Then he opened this briefcase that I've been staring at. He did this, he's very tactical. And he opened it up. He said, this was my half this week. It was 30 grand in there. It was 6 bundles of money band up, 5,000 each. And he threw a bundle to me. So I grab it. I'm holding this bundle. I said, man, he goes, what do you think about that? I said, that's more money I made the first year in the Army. 5 grand. It was. And I said, I never had that much money in my possession ever. He goes, well, you come work for me. You move equipment around. You'll learn how to fix things. You'll learn the whole trade, and then eventually maybe you'll be a route man. And so he's like saying, would you consider working for me? And I'm like, I don't know. This thing, you're talking about poker machines. He goes, well, we're kind of like bankers, and
Right.
but in a way it's true, because what was going on if you work for Joe's bar and he's selling, he wants to get out. So you're the bartender and he wants 300 grand. 300 grand is not a lot of money, but it didn't come with the property. It was just a liquor license to a little corner bar. You go to a bank, they're not going to loan you money. You're nobody. Mm-hmm. So they would come to guys like these operators and say, hey, I'm looking at Joe's bar. He wants like 25 grand down. And they would go check it out. If they thought they could make the $25,000, they loan them back in a year, get them to sign a 5-year contract, they do the deal. But in the process, if they loan them the money, they tie up their liquor license. So they're not going to lose a dime. So if the guy fucks up, they call him the note, throw him out, put somebody else in there. So they were always protected. And he says, we're just providing a service. These guys want to buy business and all, but also they're putting in illegal gambling devices.
Whereas that's part of the deal?
That's part of the deal. The part of the deal is we put these machines in there, and under the guise, all the machines had for amusement only, that covered the operators' asses. We don't know they're gambling with them. We just put them in there. And if they got pinched, they take the hit, and they went on. So he's trying to sell this to me.
Who takes the hit?
The
bar owner.
The bar owner takes a hit. How this works is that when it's not written, like all these operators, there was 5 main operators that met that were like this organization. There's dozens and dozens of them, but the 5 main ones would meet and discuss problems, and they wouldn't step on each other's toes. But the unwritten rule was that the police come in here and they raid you. And when they raid you, they take every dime in the place. Any money in the drawer, they clean you out. And what they'll do is, I'll give you an example. Say they do a raid, they come in, there's $1,500, there's $3,000 in the machine. So they'll count it out, $3,000 machine, they'll put a ticket up, and you have $1,500 in your bank to start the day. The bar owner does. So they'll take that money, $1,500, leave a thing. So they got $4,500. Mm-hmm. And then what they do with the machines is, this one particular time we got a call. It was like my 6th month in. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but my 6th month in, I'm riding with this guy named Rob. He's a mover. He's like 6'4", big black guy, 380. And we're going around to move equipment. And in the morning, we had there was a woman that worked in the shop. We all had radios. She answered the phone and would radio out things going on. So we're taking off for the day at 7 a.m. As soon as we take off, we get a call. She's like, base of 3. We just got hit. And I'm like looking, because I'm 6 months in at the time. we just got hit. And I'm like, what? He's like, where? He's like, T-Bird Lounge. The cops called. You have 15 minutes to get down there. We're going to bust them up. That was nice because sometimes they just go in there, they wreck them up with a maul, and they're in pieces. So they gave us 15 minutes to get down there. So we go trumping down there. We pull up, and this is a story which got crazy, which kind of changed my mind away about being a cop. So we walk in that place, and the cops, the two uniformed cops in there, they had two uniform vehicles outside and two plainclothes cars outside. So we walk in there, and there's like snow falling from the ceiling. And I mean snow like those tiles, those white tiles. So the two uniformed cops are like, bang, bang, with pool sticks. They're knocking the tiles in. They're like, kick, boom, boom, and the shit's falling. And what they were after was they're looking, the guy wouldn't give his bank up.
Right.
He was hiding it somewhere. They're like, just give the bank up. And they're tearing the place up. And I'm like looking around like, what the fuck's going on? These cops are, knocking destroying this place. And the uniform guy's like, who are you? And we're like, we work for the vending company. And I was told, Sonny had radio us, said, let Paulie know what to say before we got in there, because I didn't know what was going on. And Rob looks at me and says, don't say shit. He goes, don't say a thing. If you got to say anything, you move equipment around. That's it. And this is my 6 month being in there. I'm still kind of learning what's going on. So the one cop pulls me aside. Who are you? I'm like, so-and-so. Give me your ID. So I give him my ID. And he's like, all right, they're doing illegal gambling in here and this and that. And I said, sir, I don't know anything. I don't know what's going on. I just move equipment around. He's like, how long have you been doing this? 6 months. He goes, you might want to find another line of work. I'm like, oh, okay. So I kind of back off. They tell Rob has the keys. They get his license, same thing. And Rob's like, Rob doesn't say shit. He's like, he's a big guy, just shrugging his shoulders. He opens machines up. He brought a screwdriver with him because he wanted to take the boards out. Because otherwise, if you yank them out, you ruin the whole machine, because there's two harnesses that hook up to the boards. And if you pull them out, you rip the harness up. So they were cool in a sense, other than tearing the bar up. They let us open them up. He takes the money. The money would fall in buckets. They take the buckets out where all the cash is in. Rob undoes the boards, gives them the boards. That's what they wanted. So that's when they counted $3,000 out. I was talking about earlier. Give them a ticket. The $1,500 they found in the floor drain. The guy didn't want to give it up because they were smashing bottles. And Rob finally said, hey, go in the floor drain. That's where the money is. The owner, Jarrell, got pissed off. You motherfucker. And Rob's like, they're going to find it anyway. They're tearing your place up. They're breaking bottles. They're knocking tiles down.
You're going to spend way more than $1,500 to fix all this damage.
Yeah, so they count the money. So we're just standing there. I'm like, what? I didn't know what was going on. I'm like thinking, like, this is new to me. And Rob's just sitting there like it's no big deal. So they count the money, $3,000, $1,500. They leave him a ticket. They leave all the paperwork. You're charged with illegal gambling, this and that. And then they look at Rob. The cops look at Rob and say, you stand. Rob's like, and I still didn't know what was going on. So once they leave the bar, once they leave the final paperwork and they leave that bar, they're done. They can't come back. They're done. So Jarrell's screaming and yelling at Rob. And Rob goes, look, you know the deal, the unwritten rule. This is the unwritten rule. That $3,000, they took out of the poker machines that you have a ticket for. Sonny's going to come down. He's going to give you $1,500 of it your end. So we lost $1,500. Mm-hmm. Your $1,500 from the drawer they took, you're going to get that $1,500 back. Okay, we're going to put 2 new boards in those machines, which we did in an hour. They're up and running. Now, the reason they gave that $1,500 up, he told me, he goes, look now, Jarrell, they were tearing your bar up. They're knocking your ceiling tiles out. They're busting bottles. Now we got to give you money for that. Also, we leave them a card. We get them a high-priced lawyer, pay all the court fees, fines, miss work. It's not written down, but we take care of them. They're whole.
Right.
They go to court,
So
slapped on the wrist. We had accounts get hit 5 times in a year. Never close them down.
Right.
Just a slap on the wrist. So that's kind of how that went round. And a lot of the operators, that's what was going on. And it was just the craziest thing that I'd ever seen. But that's how the system works. And for a while, these operators were protected because on machines for amusement only, that protected them. The only difference is that it wouldn't protect them, that with these machines, how they worked. There's a board, there's a power supply, there's a bill acceptor, there's a monitor. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. But when we got the machines, we had to clean them out. And clean them out means you couldn't have an accounting mode. We had to have an accounting mode in there because they had to register coins in and coin out. They tracked everything. You couldn't lie. They would have a coin in number and a coin out number. You couldn't push a button to bring it up. You had to hide that. So we'd have one of our guys who was really good with electronics. He'd wire something in there where you like took this wire here and you put a clip to it and ran it over here, and then accounting mode would come up. If they found an accounting mode in your machine, the police, they would come after us. Oh, that thing's clearly for illegal gambling because you have an accounting mode in. You have a coin, there's coins in and coins out. And how you would click the things off, it was like a remote control for a garage door opener. You just hit a clicker, boom, and it would come off.
How do these people get their money? You said there's coins in, coins out.
When you settle, like if the machine, say the machine takes in $4,000 in 1 week, it's going to say 4,000, whatever, $4,000, and say they pay out 1,000, pay out 1,000. Okay, so your net $3,000. Your split's going to be 15 and 15. Sometimes where we had problems, if an owner was an asshole or he thought he could get over, he would say, "Oh no, that's wrong. I had $1,500 paid out." Well, like, wait a minute, the machine says 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's lying. Somebody's ripping you off. But some of these guys, not all the guys, we had like 50 some bars. Not all the guys were like that, but some were. They would try to get over any way they could, and we would say, "Hey, no, that's on you. You either got somebody stealing from you. A bartender had a bad night. Maybe I paid $100 that one night. There's nothing paid out." So we had to stay on top of some of these guys. Some guys we collected, whatever you say is good. We're just going to go by that. And they didn't have a grief with us. But some guys you had to watch and stay on top because any way they can get over, they would try to get over.
How does the machines work? Like, okay, so are you putting in cash and then it gives you a receipt to take to the bartender?
No,
just cash in,
no, there's
cash
no
out?
receipt. No.
Yeah.
No. How they work, like how the cops have to catch you, how they catch you is that they come in undercover. And some of these guys will look like bikers. They'll sit in a bar, they look like a freaking biker. They have to see 3 things happen. They have to watch somebody playing the machine and say 2,000 points occur on the machine, a quarter machine to be $500. So you have to see that for one. The second thing they need to see, that those points vanish. So somebody behind the bar is hitting a remote control, boom, and it clicks them off. Okay. The next thing they have to see, the end of the cycle to get the warrant, is the bartender sliding them the $500.
Right.
And them taking it, and that's it. You're illegal gambling. You're using them for illegal gambling.
Okay.
But we had told these guys, because of this, the guys that would have safes, don't leave a lot of money in your safe because
in case you get hit.
In case you get hit, you leave $15,000 in your safe. Technically we got to cover that. But we would tell these guys, don't leave a lot of money. A lot of the guys would leave them in their cars. Like when I had a place, I had a little safe where I kept money in it, but I also had an area in the back where I hid the money. So if they got in the safe and got some money, they're tickled. They weren't going to knock through my tiles or really look around the place. So you had to do shit like that too.
So if I go in, I put $100 in the machine, and let's just say I win 500. The bartender's monitoring the thing, and he's giving me the money that I won. Yeah.
But usually, like my people that work for me, I like ingrained in their mind, and I never got hit. 23 years, I never got pinched, because I would ingrain in their mind, if there's one person in this bar that you don't know,
right, don't pay out.
Don't, because that could be the guy. Especially some of these guys are. Well, I shouldn't call cops stupid, but some of them are. They would sit like right next to where the guys are playing.
Right.
Like they're right here in the corner, and they'd sit right here, and they drink a beer for 2-3 hours, and they keep, you're a cop. I even had one, and they lie too. I had one night at my place, and the girl called out sick, and I worked all night to 2 a.m. I didn't do it that often, but I had to. And the next day I opened, it was Sunday morning. I had come back in and open, and these 2 dudes come in, and they come in, and I would never play one of these machines unless I knew the people in the bar. Otherwise, you're throwing your money away because they're not going to pay you off. Mm-hmm. So these 2 guys come in Saturday, it was Sunday morning. They started putting money in the poker machines, and I'm watching them. I'm thinking, like, who are these motherfuckers? I wouldn't walk in a bar and start feeding 20s in these machines.
Right.
And they start spouting, "Oh yeah, we were in here last night. Yeah, hitting them hard, and the girl last night paid us off." I worked.
Right.
She paid us off, and yeah, we had a great time. Yeah, it's a great place and all. I said, "Oh, that's great." And they're playing the machine. I said, "You mean the redhead Debbie who worked last night paid you off?" "Yo, yeah, she was cool. Yeah." I said, "Oh, you must have been somewhere else. I don't have anybody like that works here."
All right.
And they're like, and they left.
Right.
So sometimes they'll try to scam you. They'll do whatever they can, trip you up to try to say, like I was not knowing that I worked the night before. And then here they come in trying to set me up.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, how hard is it for them to just play, win, and have you hand them the money? It's hard to win.
No,
like
you can win. It's just you're not going to get paid out unless somebody knows who you are.
Oh, so then what? Then they hit and they go, hey, this thing owes me.
I had guys
money.
would hit for like $500. They're like, hey, I'm like, we don't pay off, dude. What? And they get mad. I'm like, sorry. I don't know who they were. They weren't getting paid off.
Right.
Because, I'm not taking a chance.
What did they say? How do I get paid off? I just fed this $80 into this machine. I just hit for 500. How do I get my money?
I said, you see that sign on the machine? It says for amusement only.
Right.
So that's it.
Oh, that's a problem.
Some guys would try to be like, I'm like, get the f out.
Yeah.
Because you can't take a chance. You can't take a chance because it's the cost of going to court and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And are these machines, I'm just curious, you say poker machines, is it actually like they're playing poker or is it like a slot machine?
There's two types. There was draw poker where you had the 5-card draw. Mm-hmm. And then there was 8-line machines. We call them charity masters. You can bet 8 lines. We made them like nickel machines because people like to bet multiple lines. So you can bet 8 bets on each line. So 8 times 8 nickels. So people would tend to bet more money. And they spin and all of it. So like the slot machine without the handle. Me and Sonny were out one night, and he was getting itched to gamble. And he found out that there was this after-hours club where they had roulette, blackjack. They had all that shit. And he's like, get in the car. I'm like, okay. I after a while, I didn't like getting in his car. Whenever I did it, we got in trouble. Something happened or he got me in trouble. So we're on Harford Road. We drive over the Bel Air Road, and there's this garage there. This old stinking garage. And there's like BMWs, Mercedes, Jaguars, all this. I'm like, man, this guy must do good freaking work because this garage looks beat up. And I said, what are we doing here? It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. He goes, we're going up there. They had a second floor, and they had like a metal fire escape going upstairs. And we see this well-dressed guy going up the side of the building. He goes, we're going up there. I'm like, okay. So he hands me 25 grand. I'm like stuffing 25 grand in my pockets. And we go up there, and he knocks on the door. And this guy, big guy, Italian-looking guy, comes out. He's got a gun in a holster. I'm like, oh, shit, what are we getting into? He's like, what do you want? And we're like, Roland. Roland was the guy controlling the game, but the guys actually funding it, backing it, were these 2 Italians out of New Jersey. We didn't know them, but they were the guys looked like out of Central Kansas, The Sopranos. So we're in there, and he's walking around, he's gambling, and it, like I said, it was just like a mini casino, but over this dirty ass garage. Girls walking around half naked with shooters and all. So Sonny's gambling. He goes, you can gamble if you want. I said, no. So I'm giving him 5, giving him 5, giving him 5. He's going through his money quick. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, dude, man, I got to get out of here. I got to go home. I'm married. My wife's going to give me shit. Oh, brother, you're with me. I said, that was starting to wear on my wife coming home 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, not knowing what I'm doing. So Roland gives me a ride in my car. I go home. I get home about 5 o'clock. My wife gives me some shit. It was like one of those, what time did you get in? 2, 5. They knew. They knew. So the phone rings at 6, and he's like, it's Sonny. Hey, man, I'm over here. You got to do my route. And I knew how to run his route. He was training me to do that. So I go run his route, do his collections. I get back to the shop. And when I get there, the secretary's, Janice's like, these guys keep calling here. I'm like, who? These 2 Italian guys are calling here looking for Sonny, saying he needs to call him back. They're looking for him. Where's he at? He should have been here. And this is like noonish after that night, the gambling night. So he beat me. We had beepers back then. He beats me. And he says, call him. He says, meet me at Bellac Diner. He was at his hotel. So I go to Bellac Diner, and he's sitting there. He loved to smoke. He would make love to a cigarette. It was so funny. The character in the script we do, he smokes all the time. And he's sitting there with his head down smoking, didn't even touch his food. Still look, he's fucked up. And I said, what's up, man? He goes, oh, man, I fucked up. I said, what happened? He goes, I lost 30 grand last night. I said, no shit. I gave you 25, but I was holding it for you. He goes, no. I borrowed 30 from the house. I said, what? Yeah. I said, you got a van, man. He goes, fuck them. I don't believe in Italians. Fuck them guys. I said, dude, it was Roland's game. I said, but these Italians are funded it. We don't know anything about these guys. Fuck them. I ain't paying them shit.
He's a badass sitting in sitting at the booth at
yeah,
Denny's.
I'm like, okay. So he goes, he goes, tomorrow you ride with me.
Why? Why am I?
Well, because I had a 38 and a shotgun, a 20 gauge shotgun. I'm thinking I'm riding with you. Yeah. So I go riding with him the next day, and we do our things. We get back to the shop. He opens the garage. He pulls his car in the garage. He never parks his car in the garage. Never. He's hiding it. We go in the shop. As soon as we get in the shop. Now, mind you, the shop is very secure. It's an nondescript building. The only way you know it's there, you got to know it's there. Mm-hmm. It's a metal door. There's a window you can see through with bars, and there's a buzzer. And you don't get in unless you get buzzed in. That's the only way you get in that thing. And when you go in that door, boom, it slams behind you. It's very secure. And then there's another door inside. Not as secure, but there's a second door to get through, as just in case. So we get to the shop, and Janice is like, Sonny, these guys are gone. They have they sound like they have Italian accents. They said they're coming here. Da, da. So his partner, Ira, is sitting in the office saying, what the hell's going on? What's going on? It's nothing. He's telling his partner, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. He's like, what the f*** you mean don't worry about it? He goes, these guys are calling saying, the money and they're coming over. Mm-hmm. He goes, we don't need this shit here. Because you don't want any attention to what they're doing.
Yeah.
So he's don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. Don't answer the phone. Don't answer the door. That was his excuse. And Ira goes, no, you call them up and you tell them you're not going to pay them. Don't bring that shit here. No. Now how the office is laid out. You come in the office. She's behind the desk. There's a little narrow pathway to get there. Here's Ira's office. Sonny's office is right here. It's got a heavy door, all the counting machines, the safe. It's secure. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not going to get in that office because of the safes and all the money in the counting room. That's his office. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting there, and I'm in the back. There's a door behind Ira's office. I'm in the back sitting there behind the door listening in, thinking like, I'm holding the shotgun, thinking like, man, I hope nothing goes down. He's like acting like nothing's going to happen, but I'm thinking something's going to happen. So the phone stops ringing and all. It's like 4:00, and we hear the buzzer, beep, 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 beep. So I was like, who is it? Janice is like, it's the mail lady. I let her in. So I'm listening. I hear the woman come in. Then I hear these two guys are coming. I hear the scuffle.
So they wait for her to open.
They were waiting outside. So they come busting in. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then they come in and they're like, where's Sonny? We need to see him. So Janice was getting ready to say he was in the office. Right when they're coming in, I hear this boom. Sonny slams his door shut. Boom. He's locked in. He's not Ian Bickle. He's locked in. He's a little hit to Ian Bick. He's locked in there. No, they're not getting in there. So Janice was getting ready to give him up, saying, oh, and Ira's like, oh no, hey. He cut her off. Come back. Let's talk about this. Come back in, guys. And I'm like starting to shake now, thinking like, man, something's going to go down. And these guys come walking in, and I'm listening, and I was like, what can I do for you guys? They're like, Sonny owes us $30,000 yesterday. He was supposed to pass. He didn't pass. Today we're here to collect 35. And I was like, well, you got to see Sonny. I got nothing to do with it. They're like, no. Because they had this accent. Accent. I'm not going to do it. They get like, no. 35. We're going to collect 35 today. And I was like, I can see what he's doing in my head. He must have stood up and heard his chair go back and go, this is 1993. What are you going to do? It's 1993. What are you going to do? They pummeled him. They jumped on him, and they're like, wow. I can hear him, wow. I can hear him wailing him through the door. I'm listening. Sonny's door did not open up. I'm like, motherfucker, I can't they're going to put $35,000 of damage on him in the hospital. So I'm thinking, what the fuck? So I'm like, I got to see the guy's wailing on him. I got to see him. So I bust that door open with my 20 gauge. And I come out of there and I cock that sucker and let him see a round come out of it. Shell come out and let him know it was loaded. So they stand up. And they're looking at me. They're big dudes. And it's funny, but I swear like time stopped. And I could smell urine. I think Ira pissed himself. Cheap Italian cologne and garlic. I could swear I smelled that. And this one guy looked at me and he started to step forward. And he goes, what the f*** are you going to do? And I said, take one more step and you'll find out. In the meantime, I'm like thinking like, man, am I got to kill these guys or what? Well, they believe me. So they just went like this and they started backing out. And I was kind of walking towards them. I said, get the f*** out. So they got on out of there. I didn't know if they were armed or not. I didn't give them a chance. I just kind of got them out of the place. And then the door opens. Sonny comes out. Oh, hey, you saved the day. Oh, thanks, Paulie. I appreciate it. So Norman gets up. What the f*** is going on?
Is he all busted up?
Oh, yeah, he's busted up. His jaw, he's bleeding. He ended up being bruised the next day. He's like, what the f*** are you trying to do? You know, you're going to get us killed. I said, Sonny, these motherfuckers on the way out said they will see me later. So what the hell you think that? I just pointed a gun at them. They're going to kill me. Oh, no. I got to get this taken care of. I said, you need to get it taken care of like ASAP, like fast. Like me and Norm are kind of like, me and I were kind of like ganging up on him. Oh, don't you worry. Now he's not worried. He's not worried now because I ran him out of the office. So he gets on the phone. And we were like, Phil the judge knew a lot of people. So he calls Phil, start calling these police commanders that they knew. Of course, there's some grift. You got to give some grift. And what was said was, it was 4:00 in the afternoon when this happened. They started rolling over there at 6 or 7. They weren't coming back tonight because they knew we'd be closing down. They would probably come back the next day. So when he called the one precinct, the guy says, look, at 8:00 tonight, somebody needs to make a phone call from the payphone. Before we had cell phones, it's your psychic. You had to call from a payphone and say you heard gunshots from the second floor of that address, and they'll send the cavalry. And he's looking at me. I'm like, I'm going to make the call. I said, okay, I guess I'm going to make the call. So I drove over there, close by, not too close. I made the phone call. Gunshots. They came, busted the place down. They locked everybody up. Now these guys, they had guns on them. They didn't. I mean, I carried a gun illegally too, but I never got caught. But they had guns on them, and I guess they had a record, and they got sent out pretty quick because he paid people off. They knew some politicians. They got them pushed out of town pretty quick. I don't know where they went to. I think they had a warrants up in Jersey. Like they got them out quick. So Sonny was concerned, and I was concerned. Like, were these guys connected? We knew they were Italian. Mm-hmm. We didn't know if they were connected or not. So one of the guys that we knew was an associate was this guy named Johnny Polano. He owned a sub shop on Harford Road. He had a book. He didn't mess with poker machines. He was a bookmaker. He wouldn't handle less than $500 a game. I mean, he was big time. And Sonny also would bet with this guy a lot. Always paid him. He wasn't going to stiff him because his connections with Jersey. So he goes, I know who would know. Johnny Polano would know. I said, okay, go talk to him. He goes, I want you to go see Johnny Polano. I said, why the fuck?
Yeah, why am I involved?
Well, he talked all the years I was with him. He was one of these guys. He was like 5'8", 140. He talked this big game. And I'll say I wasn't a tough guy. I'm telling these stories because of the situations I was put in. I got in one fight in high school.
Right.
But with him, I got in like 6.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't. I was just put in these circumstance situations, which I had to get out of. So he's like, go talk to Johnny Polano. Johnny Polano knew me. And I'm like, okay, so it was like 4 or 5 days went by, and I go walk into a sub shop. And it was funny. He had this sub shop, never wanted to draw attention to himself, but his son made the best subs. He would use it to launder his money.
Right.
But at noon, there's 50 people waiting outside. There was only like 3 little tables in this joint. I mean, it was tiny shit. He just, he would be on the phone doing deals, money, whatever. Always had a clean apron, silk pants, silk shirt, gold, all the shit, the jewelry, not ever dirty. And he told, go see Johnny, if you find out. So 4 days went by, so I go in there. I'm like thinking I had my 38 with me. I'm thinking, not that I'm going to get a shootout with this guy, because I know he's associated with the Jersey people, but I didn't know what was going to happen. So I go in there and sit down, and I order something, and I see him come out of the kitchen, and he comes walking over to me, and he's like smiling at me, standing over the table. I'm like looking up like this, hey, John, what's up? He's like, I heard what happened. I said, you heard what happened? He's like, I heard everything. I know what happened. I said, okay. He goes, you know what? You're lucky. You got lucky. I said, got lucky? What do you mean? Those 2 guys, yeah, they were Italian. They were from Jersey, but they weren't anybody that I know or anybody. They weren't associated with anybody I know. They were like kind of freelancers.
Right.
Just trying to set something up and using that thing like, I got nothing against Italians or the mob, that they're serious people. But they were trying to use that Italian persona that we're moving in.
Right.
But they weren't at that level.
Yeah.
They weren't at that level.
They weren't connected anyway.
They weren't connected anyway. They weren't even associates. They were just saying, we're Italian, they're trying to, move their way in. So I said, oh, that's good to know. He goes, he's like, Johnny's looking at me, goes, you got lucky. And I said, I'd rather be lucky than dead. And he goes, I'm not saying these guys aren't going to come back down here and look for you. But he goes, you got lucky this time. And I said, thank the Lord for that. So that's kind of how that thing ended with the Italians and them moving the money. One of these guys, I didn't talk about last time I talked to you, one of these guys that used to rate us, the sergeant, when he retired, like 6 months after he retired, he's in the vending business. He's in the vending business. And we would go to these meetings once every other month with the main guys. And he called a meeting, Joe called a meeting. He was the biggest operator. And he's like, we got a problem. And we're like, what's the problem? He said, this guy just retired from the police. He's getting accounts, like some of their accounts. And his pitch is like, look, you know me. I used to raid your bars, but now I'm in the vending game. So, hey, come join me. You want any problems? I'll know if you can get popped. I'll keep you from getting popped. So he was stepping on these guys' toes. And the guys that met didn't do that. This guy didn't give a shit. He thought, I'm his ex-cop. I'm gonna do this and do that. And so at the meeting, Sonny's response was, we gotta send this guy a message. We're going backtrack to that.
Who says that?
Yeah.
And it says that we have to send him. Elon Musk doesn't say that. Normal business doesn't say.
Yeah, he says we're gonna. This is right after the shot. Yeah. This is after the Italian thing with the shotguns. This is when this happened, and they knew about it. The guys in the group knew about it. They're like, whoa, we don't need an Italian job here.
Right.
I'm not stealing the name of the movie, The Italian Job. They're like, whoa, we don't need an Italian job. They knew, but what they thought was Sonny was bragging about it, that him and me, he came out and I came out and we ran him out.
Right.
So he was like, oh man, yeah, we ran him out. Yeah, and he's like, no, we don't need that shit here. We don't need you, putting a gun on the cop, an ex-cop. That's no good. So Sonny goes, let us take care of it. I'm like, looking at it like, let us take care of it.
Who's us?
I'm like, who's us?
Us is you.
Us is me. So he goes, we're going to take care of it. Like, Sonny, you don't f this up. We're dealing with an ex-cop. We'll take care of it. Actually, it worked out this time in a sense. So we're leaving. I said, what do you want me to do? I go, what do you want me to do? He goes, he's got 2 places in the city. The guy just started out in 6 months. He had like 8 joints, but he was taking it from the other guys.
Right.
And they didn't like that. Using the premise that I'm a cop, you're not going to get arrested, I'll protect you and all. So Sonny goes, he's got 2 places like within a block of each other, 2 little bars. He goes, we had this guy we used to use to go and smash machines up. We called him Crazy. He was a friend of mine, childhood friend of mine. Called him Crazy Steve. His name was Steve. I don't want to use his real name. He was in and out of jail. He was a friend of my brother's, and he kind of took on to me because he was abused as a kid. His father and older brother used to beat the shit out of him. And he had a terrible childhood. But when he would come stay at the house with my younger brother, I would take them guys to the movies. When I got older, I bought him beer. So he kind of looked up to me. But he was crazy. And if I would say, go hit this guy in the head, he'd go for nothing. And we used him before and some stuff. So he goes, he's like, Sonny, go get that Crazy Steve and see if he'll do it. I said, I know. I said, why don't you want me to do it? He goes, you can't have a record. I said, it didn't bother you before. I never got called to do anything. But he goes, I don't need you to have a record. I said, okay, whatever. So I get Crazy Steve and I drive him. I tell him what I'm going to do. We picked like Tuesday night. It was slow. And he got a mask, gloves, and a tire iron. And there's 2 machines. Like there's one, you bust up 2 poker machines, a jukebox, a pinball machine in both places. It was like $45,000 worth of damage to the ex-cop's place. So we didn't get caught. Got out of there. We gave him $1,000. He made out. He was tickled to death. He would have done it for nothing, probably, for me, this guy. But $1,000 he had. So about a week later, this guy calls Joe up. He was the main operator, has most of the accounts.
The big guy.
The big guy. He's got 150 accounts. He was like we used to say to him, he was a guy, like he'd been in it so long, like years ago, you could shake your hand and that was it. Not anymore. You had to have a contract because people are shit. He was old school, but now you got to lock everybody with a contract or lien. So this guy calls him up and says, can I come see you? And Joe's like, oh, yeah, sure, yeah. So he comes to see him and he says, I got this secondhand. I wasn't at that meeting. He goes, I got the message. And Joe's like, what do you mean? What message? He goes, you didn't hear? He goes, I hear you had some problem, I hear you had some problem, I got the message. He goes, I get it. If any of your accounts come to me and want to switch, I'll approach whoever is in there and say, hey, they're looking to get out. If you don't want them to get out, let me know. I'm not going to step on your toes. If you're done with them, we'll sit and work out a deal. And Joe goes, that's how we work. That's how it works. We don't jump on each other's toes. So the reason he didn't want me to get called or anything, because he had planned down the road to split from Ira. And the curb shop the bar owned was Ira's best account. Like Sonny had accounts he collected, Ira had accounts. Most of the accounts Sonny had were ones he brought on because he would go out and drink and carry on. That was part of the job. My wife tolerated it.
It's part of the job.
It's crazy as shit. We'd go to the bars
that
we had machines in, spend money, hang out. And we go to bars we didn't have machines in, spend money, hang out, saying, hey, we're going to support you. We're going to, just, playing the game. Him and I he was going to split. I didn't know this. So Sonny's, like I said, Sonny's a bright guy. He's thinking way ahead. He's like, you're going to buy the curb shop. I said, does Ira know that? Because that's been his family, his father-in-law who they brought the business from. That was his account. They've had this account 30 years. It's his best stop.
Right.
I said, does Ira know that? He goes, fuck Ira. You're going to buy that bar. I'm going to set you up. I'm like, okay. So when it came that it was going to be for sale, Ira wanted to put somebody that he knew in there to protect that stop. And Sonny's like, no, we're giving that to Paulie. Everything he's done for us, we're going to let him have it. It's going to be his joint. And I would be just like they do anybody else. Let me $25,000 down, pay the guys back. It's my joint.
Right.
But they never made me sign a contract because I'm in the group, I'm in the circle. But he premeditated this because after the Italian thing, and there's another incident where the police thing, I was kind of like looking to get out. I was like looking to get out too. So right after Christmas, he said basically left him a note and said, we're done. We're splitting. We just pulled equipment out of the shop late at night that we needed. And he set up another shop and he left. He was good at leaving notes. He didn't want to talk to you confront. He left a note saying, out of the 50 spots, he only took 15, but he took 15 of the best ones.
Mm-hmm.
But the money was equivalent. He had 35, he had 15. The money was the same, but the 35 was more bullshit. Because some of you had like little local stores, you're making $300, $700, shitty areas.
That's more work too.
More work. So he looked at it as it's even. You have more. He left the most of the equipment, and we kind of moved out. And I was going to sue him, but you can't go to court over shit like this.
Right.
I mean, it's just like if we got somebody went in and busted up our machines or robbed us, we don't call the police.
Right.
They're not going to respond. We just deal with it. We put new machines in, we fix it, do whatever. Because it's a legal activity. We're not going to.
I thought it was a gray zone.
For us, it is. More like the Twilight Zone. But it's crazy when years ago, my boys growing up, they didn't know me. They didn't know me in that business. And I didn't want them to know me in that business. Sonny and his wife were godfather to my oldest son. And the last time he saw him, my son was 3 years old. And he's 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't talked since. And he, years ago, he was 14. I wrote like a manuscript years and years ago. I was working on something. I just put it in a box. My son was 14. And he found it. Because like I said, me and my wife never talked about this stuff. The only thing she would say when they got older about me, my wife would say, yeah, your father was a criminal. And sometimes he was a nice guy. My wife would say that. I mean, I wasn't not nice to her.
Yeah.
But I guess leaving at 3:00 in the morning with a gun when somebody called me and telling her, don't answer the door, don't answer the phone, she's thinking like, what the hell are you getting into? And she always thought I told her everything. No, I didn't.
Right.
I couldn't, and
you don't want her to worry.
No, I didn't want her to worry, but she knew, like you said, she knew that I was doing criminal stuff and I had to, and that wasn't me. Because anybody, like when Paul was reading the manuscript at 14, he was reading, he said, is this stuff true? Because he's like, I'm doing this, doing that, carrying a gun. I said, well, I'm embellishing a lot of it. It's just, it's stories. But as he got older and I sold the business in 16, he's like, you ought to write, I wrote more of a fictional account. And then I'm more open about the podcast, about what really happened. And they're like, what? And even when I had the bar for 23 years, I bought the bar in 93 because I knew I was going to, from Sonny, and I was trying to slowly work my way out because I knew shit was going to get bad. And it did because the feds got involved. I'll tell you that story. And they didn't know me that life. And people in the bar that knew me, this happy, jovial bar owner, when I started doing these podcasts and TikTok and all, they're like, what? They're like, they couldn't believe because they didn't see me as that. They didn't, because I wasn't that guy. Like when you go to jail, when you're in jail, I've never been in jail, thank God. You have to act a certain way. You can't be like, oh yes, you can't be a nice guy. I mean, you got to be curt sometimes and deal with the problem. But let me go back to really what ended everything with me and Sonny. We got away from Ira. We split up. So what was steering me to get out finally after all this shit? We had this one account in Baltimore County, which was one of our big accounts. We loaned this guy Sonny loaned him $100,000, but we're making like between our end $5,000 and $10,000 a week, which is pretty good money. But this guy was kind of off the hinge. I mean, Sonny would call this guy stutter because he stuttered so bad. And I felt bad at first. I'm like, man, that's fucked up. He's got a speech impediment. You're calling him stutterfuck. But I found out this guy did so much powder. I mean, he was so high all the time. That's why. So I'm like, and he always wore a Hawaiian shirt, shorts, and flip-flops. He had long hair in the middle with a big comb. I don't care if it's 20 degrees. He's always dressed like that because he's always super high. So he had a good stop. But the problem was I had to like babysit his ass. And I'm thinking like, man, I don't want to babysit this guy. Oh, you got to go over there and do this and do that. So one night, he's the only guy I had my home phone number. Like I said, there's no cell phones. And he called me one night, 3 a.m. I need a dump. And what a dump is that he's in there. You would loan money, cash checks, and they're paying people off. And they're dumping the money back in. He had 3 machines back there. And he needed money to keep these guys there. And his place was unique. He had a big nightclub up front. And the back, he had a back bar as big as the bar that I owned with like a heavy door. And he had after-hours parties back there. He had a bar, pool table, 3 poker machines. And he had a steel door in the back. So he calls me up. I need a dump. 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife's like, what's going on? I said, I got to get out. I got to go. Same thing. Take my gun, get briefcase. So I go over there and I hear this loud music. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. The bar should be shut down, but they're just after hours joint. So I'm tapping on this metal door, nothing. I pull the door. It opens up. I'm like, what the fuck? So I go in. I'm pissed. I lock the door. He's like, oh, Paulie, how you doing? He's off high. And there's 3 guys playing the poker machines. 2 of the guys are playing it, and these girls are blowing them while they're playing it. Like Caligula. Right. There's blow. Lined all over the bar here. Guys are doing blow. Some guy's banging his on the pool table. Hey, I'm thinking like, what the is going on in here? I said, you're going to get closed down. Oh, I need a dump. I said, get them away from the machines because these guys are getting blowjobs, right? He's scooting them out of the way. It's crazy. I'm like, I don't know if you've ever seen something like that. It's crazy as shit. Like something you see in a porn movie.
Right.
Of course, that shit like that, you go home, how's your night? Oh, you don't tell your wife. Yeah. So I dumped the machines. We get it out. It was like $5,000. Count it all out. He signs a ticket, and they settle at the end of the week. He needed that money to keep these guys there. So I tell Sonny about that, and he's like, man, you got to keep an eye on him. You can't operate like that. I said, what do you want me to do? The back door. So same thing. I went over another night, same thing. Back door's open. So this time I'm pissed. I go in, we settle in his office, and I'm red-faced. I'm like pissed. Like, I don't need this shit. And I'd like grab and I slam him against the wall. It wasn't drywall. It was like particle board thin. And his shoulders went through it and his head went through it. And he's like, oh! He stopped stuttering for a minute. It was kind of funny in a way. And I said, man, if I got to come over here again, the back door's open. I said, we're going to have a major problem. And I said, this is nothing to what you're going to get. Now, like I said, I didn't like being that guy. But some of these guys, that's all they understand is somebody knocking them in the head. So I went back to Sonny the next day. We're making a ton of money. He goes, well, I'm going to put you in there. What do you mean? You're going to own. I said, I'm not, no, there's no way. I'm not going to be involved with that guy. I said, it's bound to get popped or something. I said, I'm not dealing with that coke, whores. I'm not dealing with that shit. He goes, well, something's got to happen. Okay, a couple of weeks went by. This guy, Paul Monk. You can Google this guy if you want. This guy, Paul Monk, comes in. They were friends. Dressed real nice, slack shirt. Had an insurance company. And Paul had this idea. He goes, hey, I can come in, help him out, try to keep him straight. And they had an idea because guys would we had 3 machines, how sick these guys were sometimes. Guys would sit there and wait just to play. Mm-hmm. And these guys are playing. They're like drooling to get to play the machines. And he said, there's a bar down the street for sale a mile away that will buy that and we'll push some of these guys down there. So Sonny's like, oh, okay, that's a pretty good job. Let's do that. So we did that about a month, and then Sonny gets word that this Paul Monk is dealing heavy powder. And I'm thinking, holy fuck, that's like letting the fox in the hen house because Dickie's got a bad problem. So Sonny goes, you need to go straighten that out. I'm like, I should get a shirt. I'm going to straighten this out. So I'm like, what do you want me to say? Because just straighten it out. We that shit's going to get us closed down. Get them closed down. We're out $100,000 alone. So I go over to see Paul. And first he denies. I said, look, I know you're dealing below. I said, I have no problem with how you make money. I don't give a shit. But I said, kind of how I left is kind of crazy. I said, there's got to be an amount of blow that you leave in this bar. Because his argument was, man, we're making all this money because I got the good powder, I got the girls, and they're spending money, and we're keeping them up all night. I get it. But if you get popped, we're losing our money. You're losing the joints. That's it. Everybody's going to go to jail. He's all right, I'll try to maintain that. So a month went by, and he's working the other joint, the other bar. Richie calls me up, another call, 3 o'clock. This call was serious, 3 o'clock in the morning. I answered the phone. Paul got hit. So what? Paul got murdered.
Oh, murdered?
Murdered. I said, what? He goes, bring your shit. Get over here. Shotgun and 38. I'm thinking, holy. So this scared my wife. She goes, what's going on? I said, I got to go. She said, what's up? And I'm like kind of shaking because I didn't know if they're coming after us. Because at that point, Sonny was kind of stepping on toes. They're coming at us. I don't know what it was. So I go over there. The tape's around. And I could only get so close. And this cop's like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, I'm a friend. I didn't say I was the operator or vendor. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say that because they would be thinking like, oh, it's something to do with that, gambling? I said, I'm just a friend. I'm just, and who are you? Where are you at? And I said, I was asleep.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide.
And Richie goes, officer, I just called him up. I just called him up. We're all friends. He came over and he's like, okay. So he didn't bother me. So it ended up, that was never resolved.
What do you mean never resolved? Like they never found out who killed him?
To this day.
Where did they kill him? In
the parking lot, that bar that they bought. They would party in the back. They left down the stairwell. There's one light outside on the pole in the back there. That light was out that night. Somebody shot it out. Mm-hmm. And when he came down the steps, the 2 guys that were with him, I knew them. It was John and Steve, I think their names were. And they were up there partying with him. So John and Steve walked around this side of the car, and Paul was going this way. Dumpster was here. This guy comes around the dumpster. And they said, hey, they saw the guy. Mm-hmm. Like, Paul. And before he could turn, pop, he got hit in the back of the head. He went down. And then the guy pointed the gun at the 2 guys. They hit the dirt. They thought they were next. He kind of rolled him over and shot him twice in the chest and ran off. Yeah.
That's not a robbery.
No, it's a professional hit.
Right.
So we're like, we didn't know what was going on. So as fucked up as Sonny was, he's like, oh man, that like gives me like street cred. Maybe people are thinking, I'm thinking like, you idiot. I'm like, you want that?
You want people thinking you were involved?
I didn't even tell them I was an operator when I went there. I didn't say I was machines, nothing. I didn't want to be involved in that shit. So time went by, and then the next big thing that happened was when after I bought the bar, he split from Ira. I bought the bar. This is going into 94, 95. He has a handful of accounts. He's starting to lose some of the accounts. He's getting high. I can tell. I confronted him. No, I'm not doing. I'm like, dude, you're acting erratic. Like, you're letting some of these accounts go. They want to redo the contract. You're like, he didn't give a shit. And then he started. I guess he woke up after I had a talk with him, and one of the accounts was for sale. And he goes, I can't lose any more accounts. I got that guy. I got to keep him. I said, well, go talk to him. The guy's like, nah, I don't want to resign with you. I'm just going to go on my own or whatever. He goes, well, you're not going to get your license renewed. Because Phil, the liquor board chairman, the judge. And he's like, bullshit. So he goes and has a meet with Phil and tells Phil, I need you to hold this license up. He's done it in the past. Mm-hmm. So I can get some money out of this guy. Either sign a contract or try to get some money out of him. Phil goes, there's a problem. His lawyer was a guy that Phil grew up with. They're friends. Mm-hmm. He goes, I got a problem. I knew this guy since I was like 10 years old. I can't. He goes, you got to do something, Phil. You got to help me out. And Phil goes, I don't know. So the day of the hearing, Phil never gave him an answer. So Phil, the day of the hearing, there's a lot of people, like 45 people in the hearing room. Sonny calls me in the morning. He goes, take your ass to that hearing and stand up in the back and make sure Phil sees you and stare at him. And here, Phil walked my wife down the aisle when we got married. To the day he died, my kids called him Uncle Phil. He was like family. He wasn't blood, but he was like family.
Right.
He was kind of a mentor in a way. I mean, he was less evil than Sonny. He was bad, but Sonny was evil. That's kind of how I look at it. And I go and I walk in there before the hearing is over, and I'm standing up, and this guy says, you need to sit down. I was like, I ain't sitting down. I stand up, and Phil sees me. He's like talking, they're asking questions about people, about should they get the license, should it transfer. He looks up and sees me, and I'm just kind of looking at him. Not that I ever would threaten Phil, but Phil knew that I was doing some work for Sonny, straightening people out and shit like that. And I would never do, but it was implied. It was implied. So he looks at me and they call for a recess. This was on Thursday. And then they come back and he says, we're not going to decide this till Monday. We're going to reconvene Monday. And everybody, there's like an uproar. Like, what? It's supposed to be a simple transfer.
Right.
No one's contesting it. So he tells me, I see him later. He gets somebody to tell me I go back in his office at the liquor board. And he says, tell Sonny he's got the money to do whatever he's got to do. That's the best I can do.
Yeah, and the bar owner now is questioning whether he's going to get his license or not.
So that wasn't good enough leverage for Sonny. Sonny's like, sign a 5-year contract. You're not going to get your license. I already held it up. He ended up getting like 10 grand of the guy.
All right.
Okay, 10 grand. I mean, he wanted a 5-year contract, which could be worth 50, 60, 70, 80 grand over time. He was happy to get something, but still he wasn't happy enough. Right after that, Phil was a piece of shit. He didn't talk to Phil anymore. So I'm thinking at that point,
Phil just got you 10 grand.
Phil just got you 10 grand.
Nothing without him.
And if Phil was a piece of shit, I'm next.
Right.
I'm next. And I was next because he started not coming around. I'm doing all the shit. I start seeing Crown Vics. I'm seeing these Crown Vics. And I'm like, what the fuck? They're at my apartment. I live in an apartment. They're down where I'm collecting and all. So about a month of it, I tell Sonny that. I said, dude, I'm seeing, you're full of shit. You know what you're talking about.
Is it because Crown Vics are popular?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, he's 20 years older than me. I'm 20 some years old. I don't know what I'm talking about. I said, dude, I'm telling you, I'm seeing these Crown Vics everywhere. So he comes with me one day. Now, mind you, he was like running around with girlfriends, going to Vegas, going to Jersey, go home and he plays the dad, father on the weekends. He's this great guy. He's a saint. So he comes with me one day and we drive. I always drive around this certain spot. This place is Brandon's Pub in Harvard Road in the city. And I drove around down like this, and there was a Crown Vic down here. And he's like, he ducks down in the seat. He goes, oh my God, you're right. I said, I told you. So he goes, just be careful, So a few weeks went by, I stopped seeing him. So I told him that. I said, I stopped seeing him. He goes, oh, we're in the clear. We're good to go. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I seen them for a couple of months. I don't think we're in the clear. Oh no, we're good to go. So he kind of acted like we're in the clear, we're in the clear, we're in the clear. And then he comes to me and says, you know what? I'm thinking about getting out. I want to get out. And now years ago, when the ploy was when I was going to get out of there, when I was done, he's like, I'm going to give everything to you. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to give it to you. I made enough money. I'm going to give it. He goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, I'll sell you everything for $200,000. Think about it. I said, I thought about it. I don't want it. Right. That minute he turned on me. I'm a piece of shit. So now I'm still working for months. He wasn't talking to me. I'm running everything. I would go there, leave him money, pick it up Friday and leave. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm fat, he's treating me like a piece of shit. I'm doing all the work. He's still thinking, I know he's thinking something's going to happen. 6, 7, 8 months went by. We stopped seeing Crown Vics, but they got nothing but time in the world. So he comes and says, what do you think? You think you're going to do it? I said, nah, I'm not going to do it. He asked me again. So then Joe's Rockhine's guy that did what I did was a rat guy. Shows up at my bar at the curb shop. And he goes, hey, Paul. I knew him. He goes, I'm here. I go, so what are you doing here? He goes, I'm here checking all these places out. Sonny's selling his accounts, and you're on here. You're one of them. And I'm just checking out. Is this right? And I said, well, I'm not contractually obligated to Sonny. Well, he goes, well, it says right here you are. I said, I'm not. I said, it's not part of that deal. I said, whatever he's selling. I ain't part of that deal. And he goes, well, I said, I don't give a shit what he said. I'm not part of that deal.
You got no contract. Like
I got no contract.
He can't provide any contract.
I got no contract. Within a week, I go to the office, leave the money. On his desk in the office, there's a contract that said sign. A 5-year contract sign.
Right.
So I rip it up. I said, fuck you. I rip it up, throw it on the desk. I left all my keys there. I said, I'm done with you. Left all my keys there. And I had a key to lock the door, threw it through the mailbox. So by the time I got home, the phone's ringing. My wife answers. I can hear him yelling, he's cussing my wife out left. Your husband, he did this story. He's just blurting off shit. I took the phone. I said, what the fuck's your problem? You motherfucker, all I did for you. All he did for me was loan me $25,000. I paid him back when I bought the bar. Mm-hmm. So I did. I never had a contract with him. You couldn't do this and that. You owe me. I said, dude, I paid you back. You need to come over here when you straighten this shit out. I said, I'm not coming over unless you're calm, because he's like a caged animal. Now, mind you, he didn't have a permit to own a gun because he had a fraud case, a felony charge years ago for something else. But I knew he had an M1911A1, a .45 caliber that he carried. I knew he kept it in his desk. He wasn't supposed to because of being a felon. I knew he had that. So when I went over there, I'm thinking like, man, this might not end good. And I pull up there, and I have my 38. I wore a coat. I have my 38 in my pocket, in the coat pocket. So I go in there, and I open the door. I look in his office. I said, dude, I'm not coming in unless you're calm. Oh yeah, I'm calm. We're gonna work this out. You just can't get out of here. I said, I'm not. He had another contract there. Because you need to sign it. I said, I'm not signing it. And he starts, this and that. You can't watch your part all the time, and this and that. He starts threatening me. And I said, I'm like, don't threaten me. You don't know what I'm capable of. I said, I know what you're capable of, because I was doing some of it. Mm-hmm. So don't tell me I don't know what you're capable of. He goes, you owe me this. And he's yelling and screaming. I said, I don't know you shit. I said, I don't know you shit. So he's going back like this. And I think he's going to go for that gun to try to threaten me. So I reach my hand, and he hears that click in my pocket. And I had the 38 up like this. And he just stood back. He stood back and put his hands on his. And I said, look, motherfucker. I said, you have more to lose than I do. And I said, you're not going to be around to watch your family. So I said, don't come around my building. Don't call my house. Don't bother my wife. Don't do anything to me. Don't do anything. We're done. And I said, I tell you what I'm going to do, because I knew how he worked. He had all the serial numbers of all the machines that I had in my bar. Mm-hmm. He had them all. And I knew how he operates. And he would try to sue me saying it was his equipment. and cost them, put a lien or something. So I said, I tell you what, I said, I'll give you 20,000. I think I said 15 or 20,000. I think 15,000 for the equipment. I said, I'll give you 15,000 for the equipment, and I'll give you 20,000 as a per diem, just to get. But that wasn't good enough. He said, I said, take it or leave it. Take it or you get nothing. That's what I'm going to give you. And I said, when I leave this office, I'm never going to talk to you again. I will send you your money. And I just rolled around the office the last time I talked to him.
What did he say? I mean, did he say, I'll take it?
He didn't say shit. He had no choice. I said, take it or leave it. He didn't say shit. Now, he got pissed off because he called my attorney. I never signed anything pertaining to that. I sent him, it was like 15 checks I sent him. I wasn't going to send him cash. He'd do the same thing. Oh, he's got my machines. I got the serial numbers right here. Try to sue me for it then. I wanted him to receive these checks. And I wrote on every one for equipment and whatever. And he cashed them all. So that's how I got out of that. It was not a happy ending, but it was an ending. But we hadn't talked since. I think my wife saw him in 2001 at a wedding, and he stayed clear of her. He didn't go anywhere near her.
Okay. Well, so, I mean, you never
heard from him again, never saw him again.
What about the judge? What was the judge's name?
Phil.
He
Like I said, he dumped him in 94, 95. He was a piece of shit because he wouldn't really hold that license up. We would go on trips together. He'd come to my kids' birthday parties. They called him Uncle Phil. And when he died in 08, this is another kind of weird thing. He wanted me to be one of his pallbearers. I'm like, okay. And the pallbearers were like, one was a liquor board judge, one was like a major, Baltimore County police major. One was like another politician in the county. Then it was like two guys that had like big restaurants that everybody knew, and me. Mm-hmm. And after the party at the end, people would come up to me. They're like, "Excuse me, who are you? Who are you?" Because they didn't know. Phil knew me in that light,
right?
They didn't know me from that, so it was kind of weird. It was surreal that doing it. And I want to backtrack 1 second. Like somebody had asked me on another pod that how did these guys control these politicians? And the brass tacks is like years ago in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, most of the guys that were politicians locally, county, city, state, Annapolis, they started out, they're bar owners, restaurateurs, club owners. They were seen in the community. So they ran and they became politicians. And how they maintained the power to keep these machines, they knew the operators. And the operators at some point helped them out, got them in business, loaned them money, helped them with their campaign, and then they became local politicians. And the other crazy thing is that in the state of Maryland, they're legal to use for amusement-only devices. The only jurisdictions they're legal in is Baltimore County, Baltimore City. Every other county outlaws them. So most of the politicians that were under the thumb came from Baltimore City and Baltimore County. Any jurisdictions they were legal in.
Okay. So my other question is, so what did you do after that? You own, how many bars did you own?
I just owned one. That's all I needed was one, because it was one of our better accounts. I can talk about now how much I was making. I mean, I was making from those poker machines, I had two in there for years, like $5,000 a week. That wasn't what I was making from the bar. I mean, my wife kept track one time. I think one year I made $110,000 on the books. And she says, and I told her to stop doing this. She goes, you gave me $150,000 in cash last year. I'm like, don't keep that written down. That wasn't the money that I had.
Yeah.
That I was doing stuff with. And people are like, it was a 2,000 square foot bar.
Right.
And people are like, I had this house built in Shrewsbury in 2000, 3,500 square feet. And people are like, my neighbor's like, I know that little bar. You make enough money to live in this house? I said, yeah. Yeah. They thought like, how the hell you live in this house this big with that little tiny bar?
Right.
But I made enough money through there. So
did you ever, after after you separated from Sonny, did your bar ever get hit by the cops?
I never got hit by the cops because I became friends with a lot of, after that, not the influence from the machine business, people liked me. I mean, whether I'm nice, I
believe you.
I'm like one of the nicest guys unless you cross me. I'm the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And these guys kind of took and liked me. Judges, the ex-governor would come in, lawyers, people that were in city politics. I had a party for this one judge's husband once. I closed the bar down, had a party. So I didn't have to pay anybody off. They liked me. But I did have one situation. It was right before the feds came to see me, because they came to see me at one point. It was a state audit. The comptroller showed up on a Thursday. You'll like this story. And they gave me this paperwork. And I'm looking at the paperwork. I'm like, what's this? They served my accountant too. The same paperwork. You have to Monday to get all your information to your accountant to Monday, and you need to be there while we audit you. I said, okay. So my accountant calls me, goes, who the did you piss off in the state of Maryland? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, this is like a major audit. He goes, this is worse than the IRS. He goes, we're going to have 2 people from the state of Maryland down here going through your records. He goes, you need to bring them down by Monday. I said, okay. This is something I learned from Sonny. I said, okay. So I had to have 4 years by law in the bar, and I had them in the beer box, and every month was a packet. Mm-hmm. So 12 months, and it was 4 years. So I'm thinking, man, I know what I'm doing wrong. I mean, I know if they find it, I'm fucked. So what I did was, it was summertime. I took those boxes outside. I ran the hose on all the shit, ran the hose on them. And I broke up breadcrumbs and shit and put it in there. I left it out overnight. Rats got in there, were digging holes. Mice were in there, ants, roaches. It was like the boxes up. So I put them inside. I take him to my accountant's office Sunday afternoon. He met me there. He goes, what the hell happened to this? What the hell happened to your stuff? Because the shit stuck together from the water and drying out. Right. I said, you won't believe it. He goes, what? In the bar, I had a water heater. It's called a low boy. It was mounted in the ceiling, which is true. And under it, I had all my boxes, because my stock room was really tight. It wasn't much storage. So the water heater had to be up in the ceiling. And I had it replaced like 6 months ago. The one busted. But my buddy worked for that plumbing company, and I got him to make a new ticket saying it just did it last month. So she came in, she was hot. One of the agents came in. She's like, what the hell? I said, the water heater busted. You know, I had the shit stored there underneath it. I tell you where I had it stored. Here's a receipt right here. Because she couldn't believe how fucked up. I said, it's all there. You want the paperwork? It's there. I'm sorry about the shape of it. Right. So they were like, and my accountant called me, oh, they are so pissed off. They're like trying to get shit. It was stuck together. So it ended up, they wanted to find something. She says, we found a receipt. You're stealing $100 a day based on your registered tape. I'm like, what? So we need an extension, a 3-month extension to go through your stuff. I'm like, then my heart's like up in my throat. I just lost 15 pounds in a month. I wasn't trying. Mm-hmm. You have somebody looking at you. So I go down there and get the tape, and I'm going with my accountant. We're going over it, adding it up. I said, it's 0.01. It's a penny. She fucked up. So she comes back on Monday, and did you sign the papers for the extension? I said, I'm not signing it. She's like, you have to. I'm like, no, I don't.
No. If you ask me to sign something, I don't have to.
I said, I'm not signing it. She goes, well, I said, me and my accountant, it's 1 penny off, not $100. You had an error. She goes, we still have to sign this. I said, I'm not signing anything. I said, agent, whatever her name was. I said, do what you want. Call my attorney, do what you want. I'm not signing it. So she stormed out, and 2 weeks later, I get a letter saying that you're clear, that you're fine.
Started putting weight on again?
Oh, yeah. Started taking medicine, yeah. Once I started taking blood pressure medicine, that puts the weight on.
Okay, so what happened with the feds?
The feds...
Like, you slipped out of there before anything happened. 96,
I was out. I was done with Sonny. Nothing, I didn't hear anything. I'm running, I'm doing 2000. I'm in an apartment. I'm building my house, the 3,500 square foot house. I'm in an apartment. We're waiting. The kids are little. Everything's piled up. They call the apartment. She says, it was Agent Smith. She goes, Mr. Schiffbauer? She goes, this is Agent Smith, Internal Revenue Service. I need to come see you tomorrow. I'm coming to see you tomorrow at 10 at this address. And I said, 685-2022. She goes, what's that? My attorney. Click. It wasn't 5 minutes. You call your attorney, maybe you'll get him an hour later, next day. Wasn't 5 minutes, my phone's ringing. Paul, it's Sydney. He goes, you know what it's about? She's told me she's going to come see you tomorrow, drag you before Northern Virginia court, grand jury. She goes, what do you want to do? I said, I ain't going. He goes, I don't want you going before a grand jury. He goes, I don't know. He goes, I don't know what they know. I goes, I don't know what Sonny's told them because
how did you know it was Sonny? I mean, I know you knew, but did she say?
No, she didn't say.
Sonny, or you just...
When she showed up, I'm in the apartment on the first floor. They come down, knock on the door. She flips a badge. I'm Agent Brown. The other guy flips a badge. It didn't say if he was IRS or what. Didn't say who. He had a badge, but I didn't know if he was IRS or what he was. She sits down here. I'm here. My wife's here. He's there. He doesn't say one fucking word for 45 minutes. He just sits there with a notepad looking at me. He's just looking at me. And she's asking me all these questions. He had to cancel checks that she had those. She had receipts to where I deposited cash, $10,000 cash in his accounts. $30,000 cash in his business accounts. I said, they're his accounts. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what he was doing. We got you going in and out of these bars. I said, did you have cameras in the bar, Agent Smith? Well, no, we know, how much. She was trying to find out how much money I knew he was making. And I said, I was in there giving him pool chalk. You don't know what I was doing in there. So she was trying to say I was complicit. I knew what was going on.
She's trying to tie you into a conspiracy.
Trying to tie me into it. And I didn't give her anything up. And then at the end of it, she goes, well, we know you have the curb shop and you have poker machines. It's just us talking. Just us talking. You pay off your regulars, just us talking here and all. And I said, Agent Smith, that's great. You think you know what I do in my business. I said, I'm not going to sit here and incriminate myself. And then she asked me again. I said, I'm done. My wife's like, I didn't yell, scream. I said, I'm done talking. Well, I said, I'm done. You want anything else, call my attorney. She slams her book. He slams his. We're leaving through the back. I'm on the first floor at the slider. I'm like, help yourself. It's wet outside. Don't slip. It's grass. And my wife goes, why did she leave through the back? I said, she's looking around. What's in plain sight? What's in plain sight? What's in plain sight? Okay, that's 2000. 2004, I think I'm in the clear. I think everything's quiet. I'm living my life. Best burger in Baltimore Magazine, doing my thing. Michael Phelps is coming to the bar, hanging out. And I get a phone call at the bar, Agent Smith. She goes, I need to come serve you as a material witness for the U.S. government against Sonny Warner. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, where can I serve you at? 30 Berkshire Drive, my house. I said, yeah, that's 45 minutes from here. I said, just serve me at the bar. I'm always at the bar. I don't want her coming to my house. I had expensive furniture. I had a lot of nice stuff. Oh, no, I got to serve at your house. I'm thinking like, what law says you have to serve at my house? I said, okay, I'll be there 2 o'clock tonight. I'll be there at 2 a.m. You want to come up? I get off at 2. I said, serve me at the bar. So I call my attorney. He goes, you don't want to be on that stand. You don't know what they're going to ask you. And I knew, I never said anything like this before. I knew he wasn't going to say anything about me because he was worried as shit because we were involved in other things that they weren't looking at, that they weren't talking about. And I knew he would not bring me into this because if I brought some of this stuff up, he wouldn't probably see the light of day.
Right.
And I'll take that to my grave. So my attorney was like, what do you mean you don't think you're, I said, I don't think he's going to say anything about me. They wanted him, but they were trying to say I was complicit. So I call my attorney, he's like, he said they have 30 days to serve me once they say you're going to be served. I didn't know if it's true. That's what he said. It's counting down. The 28th day, like I said, I lost 15 pounds real quick. It's on the radio. It's on the TV. It's in the paper. Cop the plea. It's like 4 or 5 counts.
Was he incarcerated or was he out?
He was out. Fed time, 1.5 years. I think it was like $650 initially back. They have a lien on his property for 7-something. And then there was another amount to be determined, which I don't know. It may have been another 300 or 400 grand. But he was still racketeering. Like he tried to sell some of his stuff. He ended up keeping it, but he bought a nightclub, a strip club, and still continued to have machines and all that. So he was still rolling in the racketeering business. And they finally got him.
I mean, you said he got a year.
1.5 years, that was nothing.
What happened when he got out? He went right back to it, or you?
I kind of don't know. I mean, I really don't know what he was doing. I didn't have any conversation with him. My family didn't have any conversation with him. My kids had never seen him. I mean, you look him up, you can see, but from pictures, old pictures, him holding my son up when he's 3.
So we don't know where Sonny is.
And does he get to keep the money?
No, he had to give a bunch of.
He gave $650 and then another $350, and then he's got a lien for $7 something on his house. So all the if he paid that in taxes, Matt, he'd probably been okay.
Yeah.
And he always argued with me. I'm like, you got to pay something.
Yeah.
You got to pay something. He was f them. They'll never get me. That was his attitude. They'll never fucking get me.
Yeah.
I'm like, they always get you. So
those guys are always jackasses. The guys that God, I'm not paying that. Really, you're not going to pay a ticket? They're going to suspend your life. Like they're going to win.
I'll give you another. You reminded me of something. When I first started working for him years ago, there wasn't. If you got a ticket in the state, it didn't transfer to another state. They didn't know about it.
Right.
He got a bunch of speeding tickets in Maryland, failure to peers. I mean, a bunch of them. He moved to Virginia at that time, got a license in Virginia. He's good to go. He was coming through speeding one night. This is like 5, 6, 7, 8 years later. Gets pulled over by a Maryland State policeman. They run his name like, oh, you got a bench warrant, this and that, failure to peer. He gets locked up. He calls Phil. I was just working for about a year then. He calls Phil up. Phil goes down, gets him out. He goes, how can I get out of this, man? I got to pay all these, the judge is pissed off because I didn't pay anything. It's been 8 years. I've moved out of state, got an out-of-state driver's license. And Phil goes, I know a guy you can talk to. Who's the local senator, and the senator was in charge of the DMV, the Motor Vehicle Administration. So they had a meeting, and he said, give me 10 grand. Well, 10 grand made a god out of that deal, maybe. I don't know how bad it was. He goes, give me 10 grand, and it's gone. So he gave the politician 10 grand. He went down to the DMV, gets on the computer. Nothing. Didn't exist. Gone. That's how connected these guys were.
All right.
If you paid the right guy, he said, you have no more, you're not even in the system. There's nothing there. Thanks to a local senator who was in charge of the DMV at the time.
Yeah. It's funny how corrupt, they, especially at the lower levels, they can be super corrupt.
They can be super corrupt. And people when you tell stories like people on the outside, like, no way, it's not like, it's not always like that, but it is like that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I bribed a politician,
Yeah, it's sometimes it's like when I had the bar, I threw a party for somebody or comp something, and they may look the other way for something or do you a favor. I had this guy locked up one night. He came in, he was drunk. He put his fist through my jukebox. And I'm glad my son stopped me. I was drinking at home. And my bartender said, this motherfucker put his fist through the jukebox. I was like, and he had a shop like a half mile from where my place was. So I grabbed my shotgun and I tell my son, I'm fucked up. I said, we're going out and I'm going to blow his storefront windows out. We're driving down there. You remember that? You remember this? I'm fucked up. I'm driving down there. I'm like, we're going to drive by. So we're going down. We get halfway there. He's, Dad, think about
it's a bad idea.
Then finally I'm like, yeah, it's firing a weapon in city limits. I said, it's probably a bad idea. So I drove back home. And so then a buddy of mine who was a cop, I told him what happened. So he came in, he got pictures of these people and had a picture of him and goes to the bartender. He goes, which one did it? Mm-hmm. In the lineup. And the bartender goes, he did.
All right.
He went over Friday night, knocked on his door. Turn around, sir. He locked them up for the weekend. So the guy's lawyer calls me, said, you're an asshole. Why'd you have my client locked up for a weekend? He was going to pay. I said, it'd been 3 weeks.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He never called me. He wasn't going to pay me. I want my money. Then we went to court. He goes, well, he'll give you $100 a week. I said, no. I want all my money now. It's $1,500 to replace the screen of the jukebox.
Yeah.
So I had favors like that. Didn't really cost me anything. Buying beer and food and shit for a while.
I was thinking, I wrote a story for a guy they used to go to their competitors, and they would just pull up in the parking lot, and they would take they had these like really nice slingshots, and they would take ball bearings and just shoot out. And then he was like, this happened like just all the time. They're knocking holes in the windows, taking out their signs. This is just constant. He's like, oh, you can shoot those things. He's like, you sit there and shoot,
There's no sound to it.
Yeah, 40, 50 of them. He's like, just knock it. He's like, their front of their building is always shot to shit. And eventually the strip mall owner will be like, yeah, you got to go.
Yeah.
Like these guys who I don't know what your problem is, but somebody just got it.
Somebody like you. I'm replacing these windows. Yeah.
So you can, if you want to, you can make somebody miserable.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've done that in the past.
But you don't have to fire a shotgun at them in the middle of, that's a bad idea. The ball bearing thing's way better.
Yeah. Well, one time these girls were giving me some shit. They had a beauty salon. I owned the bar, and I owned all the parking. And they kept booking these things, these events, weddings, and like there's like 30 cars out there. I'm like, yeah, I'm a nice guy. I keep repeating that. You're taking up my parking. Oh, what tough shit. I'm like, no. Then I found out it was like on a Sunday. They had this major wedding event, and I'm thinking like, they ain't using my parking lot. So this guy I know, he goes, I got an idea. He goes, what time are they doing this thing? I said, like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. He goes, I'll stick super glue in her key lock. They'll never get a locksmith down here in time. They didn't. They didn't. It ruined the person's wedding. They lost the business. I'm like, that sucked. They came over and told me, I said, oh my God, that's terrible. Who would do such a thing?
I was thinking, you were going to have somebody park a tow truck in the front and just start towing the vehicle.
Oh, I did that too. I had a guy park on the hill, he'd hide on the hill, and I'd be like, go ahead. You latch him, take him out of there.
Have you seen, those tow truck guys, have you seen them on TikTok?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they're quick now.
Just sitting there, boom, got the guy go, and then they drive off, and you see the guy running out of the house.
Yeah, they're and there's one guy who wants to fight everybody. He repo guy, the black fella.
Yeah,
he's like, come on, you want to come at me? He's like some super MSM, but he knows all the karate and this and that, and he beats everybody's ass. Big guys. He goes, come on at me, and he challenges everybody. He's like, I'm taking your car no matter what. He goes, I'm gonna put you down, take your car no matter what. Better give me the car.
Just take the car.
Just take the car.
Anything? And what else we got?
I got some questions.
Okay.
So
don't need my lawyer.
No, maybe not. So with these machines, do you guys control the payouts? Are you able to determine?
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That was a problem with me and Sonny we had because a lot of these machines, there's control switches inside. So I knew you throw certain toggle switches, 60% payout, 50%, 40%. Sonny would he went to rape you as quick as he could, 50% or 40%. And my argument with Sonny was, I said, look, if we're making $2,000 a week, $1,500, eventually these guys stop playing it.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm stupid, I'm young, I don't know. And then we're making $300 a week, and it used to be $2,000 because you're getting greedy. I said, let them win 60. My machines were set at like 60-40, 60-40, 65. I let them win a lot. You know why? They're going to put the money back in.
Yeah, they get excited.
They put it back in, so you're going to get it all. And so you can control them. Yeah, the percentage.
Yeah. I was just curious if so 60-40 was.
That's what I ran because they would win a lot, and then they get drunk or put it back in.
Mm-hmm. Does this stuff still go on today?
Yeah, it still goes on today, but not as much because they got slots. Slots are legal now, and they're not as prevalent as they used to be. So that was the other thing these operators would do. All the years they were paying off these politicians, it was also to keep the slots away.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the other reason why and once the older guys started dying off that were in charge, the young guys were like, fuck it, I ain't giving these politicians any money. And it was their own demise because, they said, screw it, we'll get the slots. We'll get the slots in here. They still have machines, but they're not like they were.
What happened with that other partner? Do you know what happened with him? Not Sonny, but
Ira.
Ira.
He sold, he couldn't deal with it. So he had his one main mechanic. He fuck it, I'm just going to sell everything. He sold his stuff to this one mechanic. He lived like a 5-year period. And he moved to the Caribbean. He just got out of town. He was smart.
Yeah.
Because the feds maybe wrapped him up too because they were connected at one time. And it was shortly after they split that the feds were looking at Sonny.
And what are these guys? I get Sonny's just not paying his taxes, but I mean, how do you pay your taxes on just straight? Are these guys figuring out the one guy Sonny, it was Sonny, wasn't that had somebody had a sandwich shop and he's trying to run money through that.
Yeah, Johnny Polano had a submit. What you do is
these names, bro.
Johnny Polano. So what you do is because I would money launder too.
All right.
And what you do is if I needed to have, say my bar is doing $15,000 a week,
right?
It's a little bar, and I needed to make a little bit more money or show more money. I might fund in 2,000, 3,000. Not real crazy. You don't want to go from 15 to 25.
Yeah.
So you fund a little bit in there, and you're going to pay 6% sales tax.
Yeah.
Okay, well, 6% is fine because I'm cleaning the money up.
Yeah.
And unless somebody comes and audits me,
Right.
which they did, but they didn't find it anyway, they're not going to prove that. So you funnel in enough money to where it's not going to throw a red flag up. How do you go from 15,000 to 25,000 in 1 week? So that's how you would launder money. Sub shop's the same way. He'd have all these sales, and then he would just slowly put money, more money instead of deposit at 2,000, maybe 3,000. Not every day. You can't dump a ton of money in there. You just do it incrementally, and maybe over time your business is increasing, but it's not.
Yeah.
And then you just deal with paying the 6% sales tax. So they're getting 6% sales tax. They're happy, and you clean the money up, the gambling money up.
Hey, you guys, if you like the video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this. Also, do me a favor, leave a comment, share the video. Also, check the description box. We're going to leave all of Paul's social media links in the description box so you can click on it, go to his stuff, follow him, subscribe, do everything that you're supposed to do. I really do appreciate that. Also, please consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month. It really does help Colby and I make videos like this. We put Patreon exclusive content and we put unedited videos on there. So if you don't like the dubbing, by all means, join Patreon, $10. You get it undubbed. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. See ya.
Blow.